Good morning. Welcome to Tuesday's Early Morning Intuitive Guidance. I'm Dr. Bonnie Nussbaum, here with some words of wisdom to start your day off well and give you something to think about and talk about over the course of the day. This is a good reading for us today in terms of things to ponder. So, I don't know about you, but I have a 3-foot berm of snow in my driveway, so I'm going nowhere until my happy little plow guy decides to show up. So we shall see how this goes. Well, there goes the bus, so that's one step in the right direction. Holy buckets, lots of snow. So, hope wherever you are, good morning, Jo Neal. Welcome, welcome. I'm hoping that I get all the platforms today. LinkedIn was having a hissy fit yesterday. So those of you who typically watch on LinkedIn Live, yeah, that wasn't happening. But I did post it after the fact. So if you want to go back and catch that, you can. And if you're just focused on today, stay in today. That is just fine. So I actually picked out our reading today myself because I felt a Tosha call that we needed some cheekiness today. We just needed something kind of uplifting and to tickle our fancy. So, Outrageous Openness, Letting the Divine Take the Lead by Tosha Silver. That's going to be our read for today. And those of you who have the book, I will tell you it's on page 17. But as always, let's start with some tapping and some breath, just to get us all present and moving. Pick your spot. I happen to like this one. Breathing in through the nose. Breathing in life. Letting it go. Welcome to whomever just popped on. Glad you're here. Breathing in through the nose. Out through the mouth. Bringing in fresh air. Filling up your lungs more than you typically do. Breathing in. Breathing out, wiggling your neck a little bit, listening to all the grinding in there, wondering how the heck it got to be so grindy. Breathing in, breathing out. Grounded, present, fully open and ready to receive this message. And I think the value of this message is, well, one part of it is being willing to take a look at, how am I doing on this? How am I doing on these words she's sharing with us today? So let's see what you think. And if you want to put in the feed how you think you're doing, fabulous. Then we can help hold you accountable. Good morning, Gwen. Glad you are here. Welcome, welcome. Good morning, Nancy. Hello. Now my Facebook peeps are starting to roll in. Glad you are here. So Jo Neal was here first. She's on YouTube, and the other two of you are on Facebook. So we'll see who else joins us in the process. But Tosha Silver, Letting the Divine Take the Lead. And the chapter is chapter 2, page 17, Shopping with God. And this particular part is called Trying to Function Without God. So, and for those of you who the God word doesn't sit real well, substitute. Put in spirit, put in the oneness, put in the divine, put in nature, whatever works for you. The force that keeps the birds aloft, whatever sense of there's more here than we can conceive of that works for you. So, as I've said a bazillion times before, welcome to whomever else is here. There's one of you who's here that isn't popping up in my list of comments. There's 2 quotes at the beginning of this chapter, and whenever we have a chapter that has 2 quotes at the beginning, we're getting an extra dish. This is fabulous. So this is like having double dessert. The first one is from Shirley MacLaine. Learning to surrender to a very sophisticated deity has been the single most important lesson of my life. Learning to surrender to a very sophisticated deity has been the single most important lesson of my life. Shirley MacLaine. Surrender, though. Let's take a little foray into surrender, shall we? Surrender does not mean giving up or turning over your power. It means being in the flow, working with. Good morning, Abigail. Glad you are here. Working with, being a team with, co-creating with. That's what surrender is, okay? And then the second quote is by the Black Eyed Peas from Let's Get It Started. Lose your inhibition, follow your intuition, free your inner soul, and break away from tradition. Doesn't it make you want to sing it though? It's hard to just say it. It's like the ABCs. Hard to say them. You always want to sing them, right? Lose your inhibition, follow your intuition, free your inner soul, and break away from tradition. So, as always, Tosha starts with a story. Welcome to whomever else is here. Starts with a story that makes the point she's wanting us to savor for the day. So, she says, when I was in ninth grade, my friends and I played a certain game for months on end. No matter what someone said, we just added the words during sex, such as, she loves to eat anchovy pizza during sex, or he always forgets to do his math homework during sex. For whatever reason, this never failed to send us into gales of hysteria. But then we were 14. You remember being 14? I remember going to a high school football game as a young adult, maybe 30 something, with my best friend from high school. And as we were walking in with all of the students, she looked at me and she said, "Were we this obnoxious?" And I looked at her and I said, "Yes, we were." Yeah, that was funny. So she says, now I find myself in a different version. Have you noticed how some people will rush to discourage a certain goal, or at least let you know how futile, exhausting, or expensive your attempt will be before you even start? So in my revised game, I always take their words and add without God, without spirit, without nature, without the divine, however you want to look at it. As in, it's impossible to find the right job in this economy without God. Or you'll never be able to find a parking spot there without God. I can't tell you how well this works, she says. So here's an example. I happened to turn on NPR one day during a mind-boggling interview with an efficiency expert. He had written a book on procrastination with 44 critical steps to be followed in his Act for Success plan. I was soon giggling so hard I had to pull the car over at the corner of Clay, and I am not even going to attempt this other street name, just to be safe. Even the poor interviewer sounded flummoxed. He asked, so you're telling our listeners they must follow all 44 steps? Absolutely, every single one, the expert intoned, in the proper order. Otherwise, it will not work. And he began to fire off the list again. My head was spinning like a bad carnival ride. Well, said the interviewer, to be honest, that's all a bit daunting. Isn't there a simpler way for people to begin? No, said the expert gravely. As a master, I devised this plan scientifically. And of course, if people are confused, they should take my seminar. Of course. Wiping away tears of laughter, all I could think was, yep, he's a master of how to overcome procrastination without God. I remembered how life was indeed a weary road before I let the divine lead the way. Let the divine lead the way. I ran from one self-styled master to the next with my problems. The combination of a delicate nervous system and a good dose of ADD made my life often derail. And think about that. Who do you know who's constantly looking for their next guru? Someone else has to figure out my life because I'm not capable of figuring it out on my own. Garbage, 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 garbage. Good morning, Barb. Glad you are here. Welcome. So what I was taught when I was learning Psych K, which is one of the techniques that I use in coaching, was guru. Gee, you are you. We have the answers. We have the answers. We don't need to pay hundreds or thousands of dollars to someone to tell us what to do. Let the divine lead the way. Yes, we will be guided. We're not going to be battered with it. We're not going to be told. We're not going to be demanded of. We're going to be guided. And because we have sovereignty, we get to make a decision. Am I going to follow this guidance or not? We are co-creating our lives. At some indeterminate point, perhaps more from exhaustion than evolution, I pretty much gave God control. And though problems still come, solutions usually follow in fresh and novel ways. And that's one of the reasons why I often say, get out of your head and into your heart. Because your head, your mind is meant to be the faithful servant of your heart and soul. It's not meant to drive the bus. It is not meant to drive the bus. It's meant to be in a seat and giving some input, kind of like a backseat driver, as the heart and soul drives the bus. The other day, I met an interesting writer in a cafe. We started discussing the book proposal I had been stuck on. She offered, well, I could help you do it. These usually take about 30 hours to create, and I charge $250 an hour. Wow, are you kidding? I gasped, doing some quick calculations. That's over $7,000. Well, I do have a handy flexible payment plan, she said. Then I remembered. That's what a book proposal costs without God. When I demurred and left, I sat in my car and invoked divine order with my full heart. So here's how she does it with regard to a book proposal, but this is applicable to anything. If you wish this written, I cannot do this on my own. You know my limits, divine. But the perfect route is already selected. So if this is your will, fling open the doors. If this is meant to be, please bring the right help. Now I'm going to add a line on there. I am open to receiving. Because the right help can dance circles around you, tapping you on the shoulder, getting in your face, whatever. But if you're not open to receiving that divine help, it's pointless. Hand on your heart. How open are you? Check in with your heart and soul. Whatever problem is dogging you right now, how open are you to receiving help? Receiving help in unusual ways, receiving help from divine sources. How open are you? Within a month, a writer friend of mine in New Mexico serendipitously emailed me one of her own proposals. Hey, you popped into my head tonight, she wrote. In case you're still working on that thing, just use mine like a map. You'll finish in no time. She was right. So basically, that other writer was an earth angel. She got the nudge to send her own proposal to Tosha, who then could use it as a template for the proposal she was stuck on. That's how this stuff works. You're stuck on something. So I'll give you mine from yesterday. I've been thinking, this is going to be a gigantic complication trying to figure out where in my town there's potentially a church with sufficient property that they might want to become part of an affordable housing project. So thinking, how can I figure this out? Well, get out of your own way. Get out of your own way. So I'm at a meeting with city planners. They got nothing to do with the church, right? City planners. And I mentioned I'm kind of winnowing my way through all of the various faith communities because I don't want to limit it to those who just focus on the word church. Various faith communities trying to find a property that has enough land and perhaps they're willing to co-create a pocket neighborhood with me of affordable housing. One of the planners says, hey, the city has a map of all the churches. Really? Really? And then it dawned on me. It makes sense because it's a specific code that is applied to faith communities, right? So public institutional is what it's called. It's applied to schools, it's applied to churches, blah, blah, blah. So she said, yeah, I'll just send you the list. So yesterday, I had met with them a week and a half ago, something in that ballpark. And I had made a note in my planner because that's why it's called a planner, to follow up with her if I hadn't heard back from her on this list. So yesterday I sent her an email and she's like, thanks for the reminder. And she sends me this, where is it? This little map. Let me see if I can get it to show up here. There we go. All those little red squares, Those are churches. And it also has the list of the churches and their addresses. So now I can look at the map, get a sense of how big the red square is, and does that, and then I could do a drive-by, and then I could call and meet with the pastor or whatever and see if they have any interest in doing affordable housing. That is going to cut way down on the amount of effort I have to put into it. Ask the divine, bide time, be open to receiving, see what comes your way. Speak up about what it is you want and need, because you never know. Would I have thought a city planner would be the one who would have that list? Never, never. So open yourself up to receiving. So again, the template is asking for help. If you wish this done, I cannot do it on my own. You know my limits, but I believe the perfect route is already selected. It will come to me in divine right timing and divine right order. I'm so happy and grateful to receive it. That's the effort. That's our part of the process. And you don't have to beat it to death. Sometimes for our own conscious mind, it's useful to remind ourselves. So I'll just pull one up. Expansive consciousness dissolves obstacles. Reminder, reminder, reminder. Stay in my expansive self, right? But we don't have to beat the dead horse, right? We can put it out into the divine, put it into your God jar, and allow it to manifest in divine right timing and divine right order. And is that always as fast as we would like it? No, but it's divine right timing and divine right order. So allow. Play around with that today. Have some fun with that today. What would I like to manifest? Practice. So remember, you're capable of far more than you think you are. And this is the kind of stuff where you can exercise that knowledge and wisdom. I am capable of far more than I think I am. Claim it. Claim it for yourself. So have an awesome Tuesday. I will see you again tomorrow. Hopefully I'll be dug out of the snow by then. And have an awesome day. Bye-bye.